How's it going, everyone? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, here with another Borderlands 3 video. Now, before we get started, I know I might sound like a broken record at this point, but YouTube demonetization is affecting my channel, and I'd like to kindly ask you to support me on Twitch. The link to my Twitch is in the description below. I'm not asking for donations, I'm not asking for subs, I just want to get partnered and I need to increase my concurrent average viewership to be able to do so. So if you want to see me live stream, again, the link to my Twitch is in the description below. Please check it out, I'd really appreciate it. So today we actually have some Borderlands 3 news, which is nice. We usually don't have solid news to go off of, but the last example was PAX West, and that wasn't too long ago. But, you know, before then, right, we didn't really have much, and I was doing a lot of speculations and discussion videos. But today, we actually have some solid comments from Gearbox itself, or rather, I should say, Randy Pitchford, the CEO at Gearbox Software. And he was doing an interview with IGN. If you want to check the full interview, I will link it in the description below. I want to be showing you some very small snippets from that interview in this video right now. But again, if you want to hear everything he has to say, I encourage you to check out that IGN interview. So let me play what I believe are the key parts of this interview, where IGN asks Randy Pitchford about the next Borderlands game and why it's taking so long to develop, and then I'll get into my thoughts.
What Borderlands is really important to us. What I think people want from us is a really big, worthy, you know, and so if we're gonna do one, it's gonna be that, and that's not something you can just cook up overnight. The easiest thing in the world would be for us to churn out a lot of pre-sequels. Yeah. And we can make a lot of money. But I don't think that's, I think we've got to, I think we need to figure this out and do this right. So we're gonna work on it, and when we think we've had it, we're not gonna announce anything until we think we have something worthy of announcing, and then we'll set expectations on that. And the worst thing that I can do for us and for you and for the world and for the game right now is to try to let any expectations be set. The only expectation that should be set right now is, man, it'd be nice if there was another game, and I hope Gearbox is working on it. And yeah, we are trying. We're figuring it out.
So look, really, a lot of the stuff that Randy says in this interview is reiterating what he said in the past. He keeps harping on about how they want to set expectations correctly with this game. They don't want to announce the game too early and then have so many questions asked by fans and the media, and then kind of be backed into a corner to not lie, but maybe over-exaggerate, or maybe hype too much a game that's still in a very early form. He keeps stressing how they want to ensure that the game is in a somewhat workable, ready form so they can confidently talk about it at a PAX, at an E3, during interviews like this, etc. But one of the key things he talks about is pre-sequel. He talks about pre-sequel a number of times in this interview and says how, even though he loves the pre-sequel, that maybe that game, and probably that game, was one that didn't meet fan expectations, and when fans are looking to Gearbox Software for the next big Borderlands game, i.e. Borderlands 3, they're looking for something much bigger. They're looking for the next big hit, the next Borderlands game, like you're going from GTA 4 to GTA 5, for instance. Fans are expecting a lot from Borderlands 3, and you know what? I see that even in my own videos. People are getting really hyped, really excited for this game, and especially because the kind of lukewarm reception that pre-sequel got, it probably wasn't a bad game. Again, I haven't played it, it's on my list, but judging from what people have said, it wasn't a bad game, but it still wasn't the big hitter that everyone was expecting. So now when it comes to Borderlands 3, arguably, expectations are even higher to ensure that the Borderlands franchise isn't, I guess, tainted further, but tainted's probably a very harsh term to use. All I'm saying is that Randy Pitchford and Gearbox clearly appreciate how much hype there is for the next Borderlands game and how high everyone's expectations in the community are for this game. And then again, he touched on pre-sequel and said a really interesting quote about how Gearbox Software could be churning out a lot of pre-sequels, like every 2 years, for instance, every 2 or 3 years, and make a lot of money in the process, but that's something that they don't want to do. They actually want to take their time to create the next big Borderlands game. Now, I've got to say, you know, in response to that, it's not like since Borderlands 2, they've been just doing the next Borderlands game, Borderlands 3, because of how bad pre-sequel was. Of course, Gearbox has had a lot of other projects in the meantime, with the biggest one being Battleborn, and of course that's taken up the majority of their time there. And while that's something Randy Pitchford didn't necessarily mention, I feel like it has to be mentioned. I appreciate what he's saying about how they need to take their time with the next Borderlands game, make sure it knocks it out of the park, make sure it does a better job in terms of fan reception than pre-sequel. I get all that. But of course, the other side of the story is that Gearbox is working on other stuff. Now, I'm not saying that that was a bad thing. thing. That's how development houses work, and I've stressed that in past videos. But that is really the whole picture here. The reason why Borderlands 3 has taken so long to develop from Borderlands 2, because of course they didn't touch pre-sequel much anyways. That was 2K Australia. But the reason why there's been such a big gap between Gearbox Software developed Borderlands games, as in Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 3, is because one, they've been doing so much other stuff, and two, like Randy said, they want to take their time with the game. And of course that is important, and the thing that I always mention when fans are clamoring and yelling out for another game like Borderlands 3 to finally be announced and to finally be released. I can get it and I can appreciate it because I'm a fan of Borderlands just like you, and I'm a fan of other games that haven't been announced yet. But of course you don't want a developer to rush their games. You don't want a developer to feel forced and backed into a corner in terms of announcing a game and releasing a game quickly to satisfy fan expectations or fan needs, or maybe to meet a really nice sales holiday period. That's not what you really want. I mean, in an ideal world, you want developers to be able to take as much time as they need to make the best game possible. Now, of course, we don't live in a fairy world, right? We don't live in a world where developers have infinite amounts of money and infinite amount of time to be able to create their games exactly as they want them, with the scale that they want and all the features that they want. That is obviously not possible. There's got to be some compromises in that regard. But you still want the developer to at least take the time that they feel is necessary, given all of those other constraints. Because what happens if they don't? What happens if a developer feels forced to release a game early? Then you get early games that are buggy and that everyone gets upset about, and then the developer gets criticized further, and then they have to release patches, and the game just has a bad taste in everyone's mouths forever and ever and ever. I mean, look at Mass Effect Andromeda, right? That game probably could have used at least 6 months to a year of extra development time, but it didn't. It was released early, it was released in a state that it shouldn't have been, and look at the game's performance at launch. Look at all those bugs, look at all those glitches, look at the facial animations. All that kind of stuff was facilitated arguably due to a very, very early release schedule. And I don't want the same to happen to Borderlands 3. When Borderlands 3 is released, I want that game to be in as great of a state as possible. Of course, there are going to be some glitches, there are going to be some bugs. That happens with every single game at release. But I still want a really good game that's large in scale, that has a lot of different areas to explore, that has great gunplay, that has a lot of different gun variants, that has a great story and narrative and characters. And as Randy said, you just do not get that overnight, and it takes years to develop a game like that. So I'm happy just to say, look, Gearbox, take your time with it, release the game when you're ready, because that's the better scenario than the scenario we'd get if they release it too early and the game is glitchy and buggy. It's like devs can't win sometimes, right? I mean, people want them to release games as soon as possible, but people also want those games without any glitches or bugs or anything like that. And the two just don't mix. And really those two factors are competing, and one of the best ways to ensure that a game doesn't have bugs or glitches and isn't ridiculed by the fans is to give it the time that it needs in development. So anyways, Wastelanders, I would love to get your thoughts about this topic. Please let me know in the comments below, and until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.